Thanks, Vanessa. Today's political climate has re-energized the discussion about gender equality in this country and even abroad. The Me Too movement highlighted the need for sexual assault victims, most of them women, to be taken seriously when they come forward. Candidates in the 2016 and current elections have championed the need for equality in politics, education, and the workplace. Still, one of the most common gender equity issues facing women remains largely unaddressed: period poverty. Menstrual hygiene products are a medical necessity for half of the population, and yet for some women, they have become an inaccessible luxury. For these women, sometimes the choice comes down to whether or not to pay for food or pay for pads or tampons. So joining me now to discuss the issues is Christina Capatides. And Christina, you've produced the new CBSN original documentary, Period. Half the population has one, but no one talks about it. So first of all, again, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now you talk about something called period poverty. What exactly is that?
It's basically an extension of poverty, but for the millions of American women that are living either in poverty or on the brink of it, you know, getting your period every single month is not just an inconvenience like it might be to the rest of us. It's sort of a crisis. You have to, if you only have $5 in your pocket, that means choosing between eating and buying pads and tampons. And you know, if you don't have a menstrual hygiene product to manage your period, it might mean missing work, missing school, and that further widens the gender inequality gap.
I'm sure that they have to go to different options and extremes to try to have to handle that issue.
Right, sometimes they have to fashion things out of toilet paper, you know, it's really, and that's not healthy either, so.
And so talk about the challenges that homeless women and girls face when it comes to menstruation, kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. So for girls, like school-age children in America, a lot of people don't realize how widespread this is, but 1 in 5, a study that was done in 2017 found that 1 in 5 girls in America have either left school early or missed school entirely because they didn't have access to menstrual hygiene products. That's 20% of our girls, so it's, you know, a really big population. And then from the homeless population, in the doc, we speak with Nicole Johnson, who is a Brooklyn resident who went into a New York City shelter in 2005. She has 4 children, and she talked about, you know, like the challenges of being in poverty and homeless and a mother at the same time, and that's even worse than having to choose between feeding yourself and managing your period. You're always going to choose feeding your children. And then she said that she's seen mothers go to great lengths to get pads and tampons, even going in and out of trucks with their babies, you know, turn into prostitution to buy a tampon.
And we do have a little bit of an excerpt from her interview with you. Let's take a listen.
I went into a shelter in 2005. It's a heartbreaking situation. If you have to pick and choose, do I buy food for my child or do I get my sanitary needs, that's kind of hard, and no one should have to experience that. And I've heard mothers do all type of things just to get money to make ends meet, going out onto the streets with their babies, in and out of trucks. What's to say you're going to come back? What's to say your child is going to come back? Most mothers, they will put that food on that table. The average mother will put that food on the table for their children with the last 5 in their pocket, and she will find other ways to get the other necessities that she needs.
And the thing is, like, even as a woman, you don't think about the realities of what comes by nature for us. I mean, the average woman spends 2,535 days of her life menstruating. Like, we don't even think about that.
That's just under 7 years straight.
And that's insane. And then to think that you're under that constant pressure and that stress of having to deal with it and not financially being able to take care of your personal needs.
Right, and you know, for a lot of people that may seem unthinkable to sell your body to get a tampon, but if you think about, for homeless women, oftentimes the clothes that are on their backs are the only clothes that they own, so bleeding through them is really not an option. And while there are many soup kitchens, there aren't many places where you can go and get menstrual hygiene products for free, so it's really a problem that it's unaddressed.
And just quick, I wanted to ask you also, you know, we talked about homeless, we talk about, but what about people that are incarcerated? Another issue.
Yeah, we talked to in the after show, so if you go and watch this doc, there's a 30-minute after show. I talked to Topeka Sam, who was a formerly incarcerated woman, about what it was like to experience her period behind bars, and she says that basically you get a finite, very small number of pads, and they're often very low quality and thin. So if you get 10 pads, you often have to double up, and you use them very quickly. And when you finish them, if you need more, you have to prove that you've bled through them. So she had to actually save bloody pads in a paper bag to show them to male guards, which she said was extremely humiliating. And then if they say no, which they can, you have to turn to commissary, which is notoriously expensive. And these are women making, 18 cents an hour at their jobs. And these boxes of pads might be, $5. And to make matters worse, if you come from a poverty situation outside before you're in prison and your family has to send you that money, it might mean choosing between seeing your kids or even talking to your kids on the phone and getting a pad.
You also found something interesting through your investigative story here. Your menstrual hygiene products are tax exempt here in New York. And they can be cheaper than they are in other regions, but that's not the case everywhere across the country.
It's pretty shocking, actually. Every state has the ability to choose which products they want to make more affordable for the residents there by making them tax exempt. So while this isn't a luxury tax that's on tampons, it's just a normal sales tax, it sends a message about them not being a necessity, and the reality is they are a medical necessity for half the population.
Some of these are crazy.
Crazy.
Like the list that we have here. In Alabama, the casings used for sausages, basically. In California, Pop-Tarts? You must have been
Yes,
thinking,
absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Across the board, most states exempt food and prescription medications, which a lot of us on the surface would say, oh, that makes sense. If you need food is a necessity, and if you need a life-saving prescription medication, that should be tax exempt too. But there are prescription medications like Rogaine and things like that that are, optional, that are tax exempt. And then on top of that, like we just saw, many states that neglect to tax exempt pads and tampons are exempting things like Mardi Gras beads in Louisiana or cowboy boots in Texas. And then you think, is that more of a necessity than something that, every woman gets once a month?
Yeah, but at least people are taking this seriously and making this and bringing this issue to the forefront.
Right. Menstrual activists feel that now that we're looking at these gender inequality issues in America, now might be the time for us also to address this and finally, get some equality on the books, both at the federal level and the state level.
Well, thanks so much for coming and talking to us about this really important issue.
Me.
If you want to learn more about this topic, and if you want to watch this documentary, Period, The Bloody Truth About Gender Equality, you can stream it now at cbsnews.com/period. Thank you for watching CBSN New York. I'm Hazel Sanchez. After a quick break, we'll have another look at today's top stories.